waited 460 days and 13 hours to receive this keyboard, the Rama M65B. This was supposed to be my first custom keyboard I ever built, but because it took so long, I built so many other in-game worthy keyboards while I waited for this one to come in. Now, if this was the only keyboard that I had purchased, I'd be pretty pissed, but since I had some others like the Bauer, the Iron 165, and the Q to hold me over, I let it slide. Now, it's partially not their fault. There were so many delays with COVID last year, and the sheer amount of M65Bs that they sold, QC times were just longer than a 100 unit first come first serve type of drop. But here we are now. Let's focus on the positive and answer the question today. Was this worth the wait? The 460-day wait and the price tag of $390. Now, this is my first experience with the Rama keyboard. I built it on stream, and I have to say the build process went fairly smooth and quick. It's a 65% keyboard with a split backspace, which I'm a huge fan of now. You haven't lived until you've tried a split backspace and actually tried to get used to it. I fought against it for a long time, but it makes 65% keyboards look that much more aesthetic, and it's easier for reaching the backspace key instead of having to jump all the way up to the right hand corner. This layout is fixed, whereas the solder one is not. There are 6 screws that hold the case together on the bottom, 4 along the sides. At first, I wasn't a huge fan of the screws on the side. I felt like it made everything a little less clean, but over time I started looking at it, and it gives this very nice industrial look to the board that is unique. I like that it breaks up the composition and aesthetic of the side of the case a little bit, so it's just not monotonous and it's just one all white color. This milk white version has an electrophoresis finish, and the base is an iodized bead blasted aluminum. That's a fingerprint magnet, as you can see here. I love the Rama logo, and the rounded X looks sick, and the case of the whole just feels pretty nice to hold and to type on. It's got rounded edges at the corners, and the lines are very clean and aesthetic. It has a 8-degree typing angle, so it's a little bit higher than anything that I've had before, but I quite like typing on this keyboard. You would think this keyboard is a lot heavier than it is, but it's actually quite light compared to some of the other keyboards that I have, like the Bauer or the Q. Another thing that's a fingerprint magnet is the PVD mirrored finish brass plate. It's a gorgeous plate, but it sure does collect a lot of fingerprints. What's interesting about this board is that it uses a mute mount created by Rama, which is similar to a gasket mount, but different. It's the same, but different. That's why they're the same, because they're different. Feel me? Essentially, the mute mount sits between the PCB and the plate. There's a few screw standoffs near the middle of the plate to hold everything together, since this is a hot swap. Normally, when you have a mount like this, you would solder to hold everything together, so that's why you have the screws. Since the screws are near the middle, you'll get a good amount of flex with a soft bottom out with this board still. That silicone mute mount sits on some posts within the bottom of the case, and then it gets sandwiched by the top casing, just like a gasket mount would. All right, if you are enjoying the video so far, don't forget to hit that like button and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. So the switches we went with were the Kiwis from the Key.Company. Company. These are lubed with 205 Grade Zero lube and filmed with TX films. The tactiles in this case sound really good, especially on that PVD plate. The stabilizers we went with were the Durox stabs. You guys already know the vibes. These are the V1s with some 205 Grade Zero lube for the housing and dielectric grease for the wires. The keycaps I went with were the GMK Botanical, my pick for the most underrated set of last year. It's just so clean. I just want to eat off this keyboard. You know, like, where's a spoon? I need a spoon right now. And then I got the Rama Escape key with a leaf on it. This set will definitely turn your keyboard and your whole setup into a whole vibe. Let's drop a sound test so you guys can hear what this keyboard sounds like. Oh yeah. My girlfriend says it sounds like I'm typing on pillows. It has a very nice and light and pleasant feel to it. No echo to be found. That silicone has two functions. It holds everything in place, but it also sucks up some of the reverb from the case as well when you're typing. At first, I felt a little bit underwhelmed by the board. I don't know if it was just because I was just salty for waiting for so long and I just hyped it up so much in my head. But as time went on and I started using it, I got goosebumps every time I would look at this board. Like, I would just stop at my door, look at my setup and be like, wow. The milk colorway is so clean, the bezels are huge, but it adds to the whole vibe of the keyboard and ultimately your setup. This is the keyboard that you build your whole setup around. It's a real head turner. Whenever you post any kind of Rama board, they are just so well designed aesthetically and sonically. Is that a thing? Are keyboards sonically designed? I don't know. Okay. To configure the keyboard, thankfully this is VIA supported. That means instant changes of your macros and switches. You can easily change the outer rows to music or media keys, whatever you like. You don't have to go through QMK and flashing, although it is QMK enabled. There's also RGB on this keyboard as well that kind of shines through the edges. Now, you guys know that I've been trying to get rid of RGB, so I've just been leaving this off, but there are options within the VIA software to allow you to change the RGB of the keyboard. I've been vibing out with that botanical desk mat as well, and the white G Pro Superlight. Man, I just love looking at my desk and all I can do is just shake my head in disbelief. It really has changed the whole vibe of my setup. You guys have been loving it in other videos as well. It hasn't really left my desk since I built it. It's that good. No keyboard should take this long to get to you, but in this case, I'll make an exception. I could have waited another 450 days for this, no cap. The infamous Rama quality delivers. The acoustics of the board are immaculate. Now I'm even more excited for the other boards that I have coming from Rama. I highly recommend any board from them, but make sure you have another keyboard on order just in case it takes a while to get to you. I definitely put this up there with my other in-game boards and definitely the best hot swap board that I own. Hot swap hose, now's your time. I'm gonna just leave it at that. If there is a Rama board that looks good to you, cop it. Don't wait for the extras. That is my advice to you. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for this video. I hope you have enjoyed it. It has been your boy BT saying peace.